I just put it on backwards. This is my coffee table. I built this way back in 2016 and it is a survivor. It has survived some major abuse, but not without toll. It's got some wobbly joints. I've tried to fix those before, it doesn't last. So I think we need a new design. Let's see if we can revamp this thing. We're gonna start with our shelf. I have some 4/4 walnut that's planed down to 3. It's already milled, except for its edges. So we're going to take the edge to the joiner, get a good 90 degrees, get the table saw, and then we're good to clamp it up. Next, we're going to get started on some legs. I think I can get all those out of some scrap boards I have. So we got to go back to the milling process, but this time it's a full mill up. We've got to get a good clean face on our joiner. Then we're going to take that to the thickness planer, plane it to the thickness we want. Then we got to go back to the joiner, edge joint to get our 90-degree edge, and then we take it to the table saw and then cut it to the width that we want it. That's the whole milling process. Then we're angling these guys, so we gotta cut angles that are in parallel on both sides. Then I use a set block to make sure that all our legs are the same length. Our legs are almost done, so they've all been cut to 3 inches wide. They got the 13-degree angle cut on both sides of the parallel. So what's left? We got to taper them. So they're going to taper down from 3 inches here down to 1 7/8 inches down here. We're going to do that with a tapering jig, which is this guy, and we will use it on the table saw. If you're interested in learning more about a tapering jig, we build this one and go into depth about it on our shaker table build. I'll link that below. Also, I think you don't want to cut these angles. If you're building this on your own, I think you maybe want to cut them after you taper them. Okay, so let me tell you why. So in my mind, you could angle it like this, which is not the case. You actually need to put it in the tapering jig like this. So then at the very bottom, it's only touching right there, and there's not a lot holding it from slipping out farther. So you can always put one of these offcuts in there, attach it temporarily, and then that provides this whole section right here, give us a little more friction. Because we only made 4 of these legs. And I don't know if we have any more wood if we screw up. So okay, with our legs finished, it's time to jump into our skirts. We're gonna make 2 different types, short one, long one. Short one's really easy, rectangles, they're gonna sit, in between. I think that we're actually gonna connect them to the other skirts. Now these other skirts are gonna be longer and they're gonna be at an angle. So they gotta, match up into this angle. It's not too hard, we just gotta match the angle. The last thing that we're gonna do is try to make this skirt, the bottom will be straight, or the top will be straight, but the bottom will have a slight curve to it. So we gotta figure that out. So let's jump into it. I got a method that I think will work. I've got a thin piece of plywood that I'm going to do the old nail trick where I nail a piece into the board and then that will bend up around the nail and then we can draw our line. And that should be pretty close to perfect. Then we cut out that jig with the jigsaw, then take that and refine it down at the sander. Once it's good, we can throw it on our wood and then we're going to use a router in this as a jig template and then we'll route out that edge. We are finally to some gluing up. We're going to do the legs and the skirts. Now, how are we going to do this? We're going to do some floating tenon joinery. We're using the Festool Domino. Yeah, I know it's cheating, but it does a good job, all right? So I'll mark the center of the legs and the center of the skirt. The combination square works great for this repeatable marking. Then put it in clamps, let it dry. After the glue dries, we do a little sanding, and then we round over all the edges. Well, not all of them. Some of them we can't get to with the router, so we got to get some hand tools out. We do a little chisel work, grab the rasps too, and then sandpaper, and we take care of it. We're about time for assembly. So with the skirts, we're going to make sure that they fit into that curve. So some of them need to be trimmed down. Then we round over all those edges as well. We're going to be attaching this using pocket screws. Yeah, I know. Pocket screws. First the domino, then pocket screws. You're cheating, Andrew. And you know what I say? Yeah, I am. This is easy. I just put it on backwards. Well, I screwed the pooch a little bit here, boys, and the skirt and legs are different thicknesses, and so I butted the skirts up to the outside of the legs. So that just means the inside and the outside of the legs have different, one's flat, one's got a little curve to it. So when I was gluing it all up together, I don't know how, I just somehow lined them up wrong, where there's now an inside sticking out and an outside sticking out. So hurry up, unscrewed it all, pulled the base apart, took some work because the glue was set up, and of course some chunks of wood came off with it too. And that would be the outside. So that's a little more cleanup work than just, oh man, I can't think right now. I'm so disappointed. So I just ended up gluing it back together, and it's just wrong. It's asymmetrical, which is just drives me crazy. But this isn't for a client or anything. Just going in my own living room. So now here's how we're gonna have fun. I'm not gonna tell my wife, and I'm just gonna see if she notices it, because I don't know if it's that big of a deal. To me, it's a huge deal, but I don't think there's anything we can do at this point now, besides building a whole new side, and that's not worth it to me. Okay, I think we're done for the day after that. Yes, sir. All right, it's the next day, and I've come to peace with my decision. So let's keep it going. We're gonna start on the shelf. Now, we're gonna get the big Makita sander out and do the rough sanding, followed by orbital sanding up to 150 grit. Then we're gonna cut the ends to length. And this is a little tricky because we gotta fit it into that already built piece, which has angles. So after I cut it to length, I round over the edges so that we can get an accurate, I don't want to cut it and then round over the edges and then the piece is too small. So test it all out. It fit great the first time. I'm happy with the fit. Then we'll cut the curves that we're going to put on the edges similar to the bottom of the skirts. But we're going to do a different method here because I don't think we need a jig on this. We're just going to put the bendable plywood onto the piece, clamp it down, draw our line, cut it out with the jigsaw. And then take it to the sander, then refine it with our orbital. All right, for finishing, we're gonna use tung oil, and I put that on, let it sit for 24 hours, and then we're gonna do a top coat of polyurethane to give it a little extra protection. All right, you all might be saying, what about the top, Andrew? You're not gonna do anything to the top? Well, I'm not. I'll show you why. Yeah, I live with monsters. Monsters. But I love her, you know? So this thing I think is gonna take some more abuse over the years. So I'm gonna wait to refinish that top a couple more years. Hopefully it takes a little less abuse after that. All that is left is to deconstruct our current coffee table. Just unscrewed the legs, I unscrewed the angled mounting plates, and then I screwed in these tops, and I thought I glued them, and I thought this was gonna be a chore to get them off. they just popped right off. I guess I had the forethought that I would be taking this apart one day. Well, I put a little tung oil in those dry spots, and then we're using Z-clips to mount all this together. So we throw those in, and then we are about ready. What do you think of the asymmetricalness? Would it just irk you? Would it drive you crazy? You know, I'm back and forth on it. Right now, I'm fine with it. I don't think anyone will notice. But after staring at it after a year, I may be building another coffee. But last thing, if you like this kind of thing, I would love it if you subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.